Did GM, in your opinion, pull the plug too early on Cruise?
Yeah, I wrote a column at the time when they pulled the plug on Cruise. And my conclusion is that they may end up looking back on this the way they look back on killing off the EV1. Now, look, there are a lot of differences between the GM of the EV1 era and Cruise today. Cruise had a very, had competitors with Zoox and Waymo with very deep pockets to go up against. So that's tougher. There was really nobody doing EVs at the time. So it's something GM figured they could move away from. And, Tesla was founded the same year the last EV1 was pulled, but, it was a startup that, was sort of an auto industry curio for years after 2003 when it was founded. So there was less pressure then. I mean, I think GM could end up regretting this, but like they did it for definitely one reason, which is their investors didn't want it. Like this is capitalism at work, right? GM got no reward in their share price for any sort of development with Cruise. In fact, because of the problems they had from safety and regulatory issues, it was actually hurting the company's stock. So it was a problem. And then you have the ongoing cash drain on the company, which was already about $1.5 billion a year. And if they weren't able to raise money and get somebody else to help them pay for it, that would have gotten even bigger once they start to deploy. So it was really tough. Now, could they have kind of put that in their R&D budget someplace? Yeah, I think they could have. They're still working on these cars, but without the public pressure of deployment targets, these things tend to, I think, kind of go adrift. We'll see. I just, we're already way past earlier promises to get personally owned AVs from General Motors out there. We're supposed to see that this year, I think. But I think their shareholders reward them for 20-something billion in share buybacks over the last 3 years, and not for spending money on Cruise. And that's why they did it. Could they, so my argument is, instead of buying back, I think it's like $23 billion in shares over the past, I think since 2022. Could they have bought back, 18 billion and put a lot of money into Cruise? Yeah, I think they could have. And that's the decision they could regret.
I think they're going to regret it. And now they're publicly trying to merge Super Cruise into Cruise. And the engineers I speak to say it's two different stacks, two different approaches. I don't really see that being successful. Is that just trying to salvage what's left?
I think it's kind of the other way around. I think they're getting Cruise engineers to help improve Super Cruise and make it more effective. Because the reason GM bought Cruise, going back to 2016, was they realized that the science and software they were using, the stack they were building for Super Cruise, was never quite going to get there in terms of full autonomy. And they needed something that really was a machine learning kind of system. So they acquired Cruise. So I don't think GM gets to fully self-driving vehicles by simply upgrading and improving Super Cruise over the next decade.